I want to start this review off apologizing to my Star Trek fans out there. In my last Star Trek review, I said that Star Trek came out in the 70s, 80s. I was actually wrong. Watching this movie here, I decided to do a little more research while watching the movie. And kind of find out Star Trek's been out since the 1960s. I had no idea. I do apologize. But on this day's episode, movie breakdowns, I am going to review Star Trek Into Darkness. For some reason, the name just, I feel like Into the Darkness, but no, it's Into Darkness. I feel like the name just escaped me there. But anyway, I'm reviewing this movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, which makes me feel like Benedict Cumberbatch is probably one of the best actors I've ever seen on the big screen. I want to see a movie with him, Will Smith in it, and Samuel L. Jackson. And I think I'll pretty much be, you know, in heaven on a cast there. Throw in Scarlett Johansson, and I think that would be a very awesome movie to see. But let's get into today's episode of a movie that I enjoyed more than the first Star Trek movie, Star Trek 2009. I was kind of okay with it. But Into the Darkness, I was actually like, yeah, I like this movie. And on this day's episode of Movie Breakdowns, I'm going to review Star Trek Into Darkness. What's up, world? Welcome to the episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. And what's Movie Breakdowns? Movie review series we look at new and old movies, give them a grade 8 through plus and minus a due count. And this movie to review, let me know. Please put in the comment section below, and I get to the best I can. Also a Patreon, Patreon/Ali Zakka, which you get for $2 a month, get the cut in front of everybody, and you get trade reactions, trade reviews, much more stuff on the Patreon. And just for $2 a month, get the cut in front of everybody else. And where we add a review, I get to it immediately and get before Facebook and YouTube. Now, without further ado, let's go and get to 2013's Star Trek Into Darkness. And what is this movie about? This movie is about the USS Enterprise going on a manhunt to find a guy who decided to attack the Federation, and pretty much from there, they go to a forbidden planet and get caught in space and have to find their way back home with much more twists and turns that happen in the movie. That's pretty much the gist of it. They go on a manhunt, get caught in a forbidden world, or forbidden space, not on the world, but within the forbidden space, and pretty much got to find a way to get back home and at the same time keep the crew together. And for the most part, it's simple. It seems like a pretty simple movie. And then you find out that no, it's not as simple as you think it's going to be, because you have one guy who is pretty much a genetic Superman, and they literally call him Superman in the movie. And then you have another guy who's like on the big bad for some reason. He brought back the guy, and he don't want his faults to come to light, so he decides to betray everybody, and this causes the rest of the gang, the rest of the Enterprise, to try to stop him and team up with said Superman, the genetic Superman, who is Khan. That's how Benedict Cumberbatch said it. He literally said, like, Khan. Like, what's your name? Khan. Not sure why he said it like that. He could have just said my name is Khan, but you know, he put emphasis on his name. Don't, you know, put some respect on his name. Anyway, the only reason I personally knew of Khan, first thoughts here, is I seen different clips of it, like people yell Khan, and I knew like, oh, Khan's a big villain in the Star Trek universe. You know, I never really seen it. I knew of certain characters, and he was one of the characters I knew of, and plus the Klingons. Klingons, there's another characters I knew as like antagonists to the Star Trek series. And yeah, they're in this movie as well, which is kind of cool. Like, you get these throwbacks to the world, I guess, of the, you know, the 60s, 70s, 80s TV show. You get these characters appearing in the movies, but I'm like, hey, look, I know Klingons, I know Khan is. It's kind of cool seeing their modern day representation of these characters in the movie. And for the most part, I was like, cool. Now, this movie is 2 hours and 12 minutes long, and I didn't feel like it felt like 2 hours and 12 minutes. I do know the beginning of the movie kind of moves really fast, and there's a part where the movie kind of takes a downward pike in like entertainment where like it doesn't hold you as much, but then it picks back up and you're like, okay, I'm in this again, curious to see what happens. And you do get some of the same stuff that happened in the first movie kind of come back in this movie. You get Spock trying to figure out what feelings are again. You get Captain, I call him Picard, but it's not Picard. You get Kirk, I forgot Kirk's name, but you get Captain Kirk stepping down and Spock becoming captain again of the USS Enterprise. You get some of the same scenes that happened from the first movies at the end of the movie kind of redo himself in this movie, which you're like, wait a minute, did they just cut and paste? I literally had to ask myself watching who did they cut and paste certain scenes, because it felt like he said the same thing to certain characters. For example, Kirk talking to Bones at the end of the movie and talking to Scotty at the end of the movie. It's like literally beat for beat what it was in the first Star Trek movie. Things that I did like in this movie, I did like there was more connection between Spock and Kirk. You get to see them play off each other more and see them try to like work together. But Spock is such I call him an asshole. Like, the dude is really a dick in this movie to me. And I think because he's just so logical thinking, he doesn't think about, other considerations, other people's thought process, he said he does, which I'm like, okay. Or Yara and Spock have a relationship, which it was established in the first movie. You get to see a little bit more of it play out in this movie by them touching each other a little more. But really the relationship is still in the background, doesn't have a big effect on the movie, I would say. Like, there's a scene where they put them fighting, but I think that was probably there for comic relief. It wasn't really much else, and it happens like within a blink. Scotty, Simon Pegg's character, has a little more talking points in this movie. He's a little more influential in this movie, but he gets upset when he gets let go, when he asked to be let go. Like, the dude obviously asked to be let go, and Kirk was like, sure. And he was like shocked that Kirk let him go. Like, dude, you don't want to be part of the mission. Don't be a part of the mission. Go home. Like, and I was like, okay. A few things though that did bother me watching this movie, like for example, the antagonist, who is Marcus, who's like the commander of all of the Federation. He just kind of like comes out of nowhere, was like, yeah, I made a mistake. I let Khan go. Yeah, I'm gonna kill you guys so y'all can't tell anybody that Khan has survived, and I'm gonna kill him too. And I'm gonna destroy you guys in mid-space. Nobody gonna find you. I was like, dang, this dude just went dark all of a sudden. He went from being, super helpful to, oh, I'm gonna murder you guys. I'm gonna follow you guys out here. And Khan's like, oh, that's a dreadnought ship. He can catch up with you. Khan, for example, is 300 years old. Marcus released Khan, and when Khan betrayed Marcus, because Marcus was gonna use Khan's people as like weapons, so he put them all in missiles and threw them onto the USS Enterprise. Khan was like, yeah, I'm gonna get my revenge on this guy for taking my people away from me, and I just want to wake my people up so we can go ahead and pretty much eradicate people who we find inferior to us. And you're just kind of like, okay, sure. And Khan didn't really, to me, Khan seemed kind of off a little bit. Like, he, in the end of the movie, betrayed the USS Enterprise because they had his people, and then when they're going to give his people over to him, he still was going to destroy the USS Enterprise for no reason. I was like, why? I get it in the, in the TV show, in the series, he is a bad guy. But in this movie, he got what he wanted. Why was he just going to betray them anyway? Like, he should never betrayed them. To me, it threw me off why Khan just betrayed him, because he was out for one guy, but yet he was going to attack the whole Enterprise. I don't know. To me, this just didn't make sense. Just didn't make sense. Another thing I want to talk about is the USS Enterprise ships gets damaged which is a part of like the engineering room, which causes them, there's a leak that causes them to not be able to do warp speed and just be stuck in space. And I still don't know exactly what happened. And Chekhov's the one who takes over the engineering room when Scotty quits, and immediately problems start happening in that room. So I'm like, okay, that's, I guess for the sake of plot and so they can be stranded, sure, but at the same time, immediately Scotty's gone, immediately start having issues, and he had issues before. Other than that, I enjoyed this movie. I thought the movie was fine. I thought the movie was fun to watch. I enjoyed this one more than the first one. I don't know anything else I really want to talk about. The music was fine. Character development, there's a little bit more character development in this movie than the first one, especially with Spock. He finally get to experience more feelings and express more emotions. He learned how to express it more better. For Kirk, I feel like he's the same guy he was in the first movie, who was willing to risk everything to save everybody else. He doesn't really grow as much as far as a character. It's literally just him being heroic, the same guy he was in the first movie, the same guy in the second movie. Anybody else? No. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the director, which is directed by J.J. Abrams. This movie per budget was $190 million estimated, and it grossed worldwide $467 million plus. So they got their money back. The cast, we have Chris Pine, who played Captain Kirk. Like I said earlier, it's the same character. I think Chris Pine did great as Captain Kirk, but Captain Kirk himself as a character, same character. He doesn't really grow from the first movie. He's the same guy who's still willing to risk his life to save others and do what he wants to make sure the betterment of everybody else, even though it might go against the code, might go against the rules. But this is what he was originally brought on to, because he didn't play by the rules. And yeah, it's the same guy. Like nothing about him really changes from the first movie. He still puts us on the front line. He still goes above and beyond. It's fine. Zachary Quinto, who plays Spock. I think Zachary Quinto did great, by the way, but Spock as a character, he starts trying to develop and figure out more feelings, use the human side of him to understand feelings more, versus just being a complete logical being which doesn't express emotions. He's trying to do that more in this movie. Like I said, like the chemistry between him and Kirk's character, I thought they did, thought Spock was good in this movie. Zoe Saldana, who played Uhura, the first movie made Zoe Saldana's character, Uhura, more like a integral part of the crew. Like she was gonna be like this, side female protagonist character who will kick the most butt, like the strong character. I know I never seen the Star Trek original series. I have no idea how Uhura is in the 60s and 70s, but in this movie I just thought she'd be more impactful. But she's just there, and she's the love interest between Spock and Uhura. Like that's what she is, a love interest to Spock, and for the most part she's just kind of there. They have a little beef at the beginning of the movie, but then it gets squashed halfway between the movie and you just never talk about it again. In the first movie you're like, oh yeah, they're the thing, I didn't even know that. And which is funny because Captain Kirk was hitting on Uhura for the majority of the first half of the first movie, and now she's just there. She's an interpreter, so she does come in to help, like when it goes to Klingon planet, but for the most part she's kind of just, like I said, there. Benedict Cumberbatch, who played Khan, I thought Benedict Cumberbatch did great. He is solid in everything I see him in, and I feel like he was solid in this. He was menacing when he needed to be. The way he delivered his line, his dialogue, I thought Benedict Cumberbatch did a great job being Khan. I enjoyed this character, really did. Leonard Nimoy, who plays the original Spock Prime in the movies, rest in peace. He's in the first movie, and he's also in this movie. He makes an appearance just to kind of give, regular Spock some pointers on Khan and just kind of give him a heads up on Khan. But I just gotta give a prop to him. Carl Urban, who played Bones, I thought he did great. He's still the smart aleck character, sassy character who, going above and beyond to save the rest of his crew and bring them all to, like, he's a doctor, so he is doing his solid job to make sure everybody stays healthy. I thought he did great. Simon Pegg, who plays Scotty, Simon Pegg had more character development in this movie, and I feel like for the most part he was more useful in this movie. He wasn't just there like tossed into the middle of it. He's actually there from beginning to end, and I thought he did good. John Cho, who plays Sulu, he was fine. Anton Yelchin, who played Chekhov, I thought he did good as well. Peter Weller, who played Marcus. For the most part, it was one of those villains who just got like thrown in there like, we need a bad guy. Who should be? Yeah, I think he should be the bad guy for no apparent reason. I guess he didn't want his name to get put out there. But Benedict Cumberbatch's character, Khan, has been around for a year up to the point in this movie until he decides to attack the Federation and jet to the Klingon planet. But Marcus, when he found out that the crew was bringing Khan back to Earth to stand trial, he was like, oh, no, I'm not going to allow this to happen. I'm about to just go ahead and kill y'all and leave y'all in space. But, like, that's worse than you get brought to trial to say, like, you brought this dude out of, sleep, out of, I can't think of the actual term for it, but, like, frozen in ice, sleep for all these years, and you bring him to life to have him work for you so you can figure out how to use the technology. And when he just tries to destroy, the Federation, that doesn't fall on you. That falls on Khan for trying to kill everybody. But you should be responsible for bringing him back to life. Like, you probably won't go to jail that much longer. You probably might get a suspension and house arrest. And you probably still keep your position. So why the heck were you trying to kill off everybody? To me, it was almost pointless for what he was doing. And then I bring up his daughter here, who played by Alice Eve, who is Carol Marcus. She appears in the movie, and for the most part, doesn't really do much. She's there to be like, oh my, I'm on the ship, so Dad don't kill me. And Dad's like, okay. He beams her over to his ship, and then to see the fire on the USS Enterprise again. And you're just like, why are you here? And I guess even if they were going to mention like, oh, she's here to be a plot point, but she was there for the missiles, but the crew kind of figured the missile thing out. I don't really know. She's not even a love interest to Kirk, so I don't really know why she's there in this movie. She just is. And yeah, another thing I want to talk about before. By the way, I think Alice Eve did a good job playing Carol. I just think Carol Marcus, her character herself, wasn't necessary to this movie. But let's go ahead and get into last thoughts. The lens flares are still in the movie. They're not as obnoxious as it was in the first one, but they're still there. Music is fine. One thing that threw me off a few times in this movie was that, like, anytime before a peaceful, like, you had a peaceful scene or a scene where people were just talking, it immediately was like interrupted by some kind of like thrust or explosion or something that was like attack or something like that. Just completely threw everything out of loop. Like, for example, Kirk was telling everybody about the attack on the library and how, this doesn't seem right. And as he's explaining it, Benedict Cumberbatch character Khan appears and decides to fire on everybody and just like immediately interrupted. It reminded me of Aquaman, where like every peaceful scene was tossed by a explosion, and this movie kind of had a little same thing, a peaceful scene, and then example, Spock was talking to Carol and he felt like her real name, but I have her explain why she's on the ship. Explosion. So that's one thing I noticed to me that like threw me off. Is this a Friday night movie? Yeah, it's a Friday night movie. Watch it with your friends and family. Enjoy it. Have a good time. In this movie, you still get the sexual references. You still get to see Kirk as a bachelor. In this movie, actually, he there's a scene where he wakes up with two different girls in bed. In the first movie, he's hooking up with another girl, and then this movie, you get to see Alice Eve take her clothes off, just bras and panties. But like the dude Kirk is checking her out for no apparent reason. That scene is not necessary, so I'm not sure why J.J. Abrams wrote that or directed into the movie for like, we gotta see boobs and bras and panties. It's not necessary to the movie. Why even show that in there? Oh, to show that Kirk finds her attractive, but you can do that more than one way besides a woman stripping to her bras and panties, and that didn't go anywhere. Like, he didn't try to hit on her later or anything like that, so, grading time. I'm going to grade Star Trek Into Darkness a solid B. This movie gets a B for me. I did enjoy this movie more than the first one. I think this movie kind of more of a unique story, and I wasn't sure how it was going to end, and when it did come to the ending, I was like, oh, okay. The ending did seem kind of abrupt. Like, I feel like you can get much more of a conclusion to what's going on, but I felt like Khan himself was a solid villain. I felt like Peter Weller's character, Marcus, I felt like even though it seemed abrupt, I feel like his mentality, what he was doing, I feel like it's somewhat like it fits as a villain. I think the villains so far in this series are written well. You know, I feel like their ideas of what they're doing could be a little bit off. Like, they could have cleaned it up a little bit more. But other than that, I think this movie's a fine movie. Pacing, you're gonna have some moments where the movie will be like up here, and then you're gonna like drop down here and then go back up there. But the acting, I think, is solid. Benedict Cumberbatch is great in this movie. I freaking love him as an actor. I want to see him more stuff. And yeah, I think this movie's a B. If you've seen Star Trek Into Darkness, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.